So what did I actually change in my reading strategy, let's call it? Very simple. I added a pen and something to write. Have you come across one of these YouTubers that tell you ought to read at least 50, maybe even 70 or 100 books per year to build up knowledge? To be honest, I have tried this out and it didn't work. I failed. But I found a way how I can actually build up knowledge, and also that gives me more fun than consuming simply books, but instead enjoying books and still getting the best out of them. And in today's video, I want to share with you one simple tip how you can actually enjoy your reading, your books in the future even more, and get the best out of it. So let's get started. Welcome to today's video. My name is Steven and I help athletes and ambitious people become high performers. In case you're new here, welcome to my channel. In case you've been here before, great to have you back again. Today I want to talk with you about building up knowledge that we can use in our daily life, in business, maybe for your sports or your hobby or whatever. It could be anything actually in life. And I started, I have always been, let's say, a big reader. I love books and I love reading, and especially books where I can learn from. So not novels, which is also great from time to time, but mainly maybe biographies or just some books with some topics that have to do maybe with my coaching business or with my sports, for example, with tennis, biographies from some sports idols or athletes. That's something where I can gain some knowledge, where I can learn, that inspires me, and that I want to bring maybe into my daily business when I work together with my clients. So when looking back, I've been reading loads and loads of books. And at some point I realized, hey, actually I'm more or less consuming books. So I'm reading them like speed reading. But when someone asked me, when a good friend, for example, asked me a couple of weeks later, hey, you read this book, you told me about this book. Tell me a bit more about it. So what were the most important maybe aspects you discovered in the book? And when I tried to recall actually what was the main key points in the book, I could hardly remember anything. So I had to admit maybe I forgot about probably 95% of the book. And at some point this really frustrated me. It actually annoyed me. And I knew I wanted to change something in my reading approach, because it's not about consuming books, unless you want to break the world record, of course, in maybe speed reading or achieving some, I don't know, a certain number of books that you've read at the end of the year. But the question is actually, what's the benefit for you? Yeah, what can you gain from that? And I decided for myself, hey, I think I need to reduce the amount of books. Maybe it's only 40 books per year instead of 80 or 100. But high quality reading, and also I'm much more able now to recall what I've been reading. So what did I actually change in my reading strategy, let's call it? Very simple. I added a pen and something to write. Ideally a notebook. And I always have this together with my book. So when I have my book maybe next to my bed, because I like reading when going to bed, a few pages, I also have the notebook and the pen next to it. Because when I read something that really fascinates me or I find interesting and I want to remember it in 4 weeks' time, maybe in half a year, I just take my pen and my piece of paper or my notebook and I write it down. So this could be something like a proverb that I like, or it could be a book recommendation within the book that I'm reading. It could be a very interesting or maybe exercise that's in the book that I want to remember also, maybe transfer it into my coaching business or into my sports. So when, for example, when reading a book like The Inner Game of Tennis or The Inner Game of Golf, maybe you know the book. It's very, very good, fascinating for every athlete, I think, and also regarding the mental side of the game. So it makes sense to write the most important passages down so that you can remember them in the future and maybe use them also then hopefully in your daily training and in your competition, in your games. And that's how we actually not only build up knowledge, but we also use it. So we take action and then we get a huge benefit out of that. And we can make sure that we improve in our sports, in business, or in our communication, for example. So that's actually how I started reading books at some point a few years ago, and it made a huge difference in my life. Since then, I don't have the feeling that I'm simply consuming books, and at the end I can hardly remember anything, or let's say also a few weeks and months later, everything is gone more or less. 99% is I can't remember 99% of the book. And this, maybe you know that feeling, this is super frustrating also. And I asked myself at some point, hey, actually, why should I read books? Because in the end, I can't recall anything, more or less. So by adding the pen with a notebook, I write down the most important book sections. And that's how I filter and I get the essence of the book. And then I have it in my notebook. And over time, of course, you will have numerous notebooks, and this will give you the opportunity to check out the notebooks if you want to recall something from a specific book. Maybe it has 500 pages and you would find it incredibly difficult to recall, where in which chapter was this, on which page. But now in your notebook where you filter this, maybe you just have 30 pages, and you will find it much easier to find what you were looking for. So when you write something down in your notebook, write down the chapter, then the book section, maybe just some bullet points or the highlights, let's say, and the page. That's how I do it, and I find it super easy now to find what I'm looking for actually, and to make sure that I don't forget what I've read and what I found maybe super interesting. And the second advantage is also by writing it down by hand, your brain, your mind will remember this even better, as the connection between your brain and your hand is there. And in general, when we write something by hand, we can remember it much better than if we just write it down, maybe also in a tablet or on your phone. So write it down by hand, and then you will find it much easier to find the most important sections of the book you've been reading. And of course, it takes me much more time now to finish a book, but that's not a problem for me, because the benefit is much higher than it was before. And I asked myself at some point, okay, is it simply that I want to finish this book as quickly as possible, or do I want to get as much out of it as I can? Build up knowledge, learn, transfer it into my daily life, into my business, my sports, or whatever it is. And for me, the latter is much more important. And that's why I do this now, by reading with a pen and with a notebook next to my book. So it's about actually mindful reading and not consuming. So maybe you also want to try it out and read less, but with very high quality, mindful reading. So stop consuming, but instead learn more, learn better, build up real knowledge, and then transfer it also into your daily life and take action. And that's actually what it's about. Knowledge is only valuable actually if we do something with it. Otherwise it's more or less useless. And when talking about mindfulness, in case you would like to get to know more about mindfulness, meditation, check out this video up here. This could be interesting for you, especially when you're getting ready for a competition or a game. That's it for today, guys. Thank you for watching. In case you like the content, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel, and I hope to see you in one of my next videos. Have a great day and see you soon. Bye.